Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. 3 topics for this video. 1, Alexei Navalny's widow will be arrested if she sets foot in Russia. A Russian court, Russia, issued an arrest warrant for Yulia Navalnaya, widow of Alexei Navalny. The reason? Stay tuned. Or tune. Next topic is coming from war zone. Chinese troops reach Poland's border. Congratulations. Instead of having only the Belarusians and the Russians, now you have the Chinese. Great, great balls of fire. And the last topic is about an encirclement. Did you know that some Ukrainian soldiers were encircled around Chasiv Yar? I didn't know, and I'm reading their articles all day, every day. I'm talking about the Ukrainians. 3 to 4 articles every day coming from the Ukrainians. Nothing about this little encirclement, but now I have details on it. So let's start with Navalny. See why she was issued an arrest warrant. I will use only accredited sources, peer-reviewed CBS News and the New York Times. All right, Russia issues arrest warrant for Yulia Navalnaya, widow of Alexei Navalny. Well, if you want to play rough and you want to play with those guys, what can you do? Now let's see. Maybe obviously the charges are just... Anyway, Russia on Tuesday announced an arrest warrant for Yulia Navalnaya, the exiled. She exiled herself. The Russians did not exile her. Widow of the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Do you know how much support in the Russian public Alexei Navalny had? Because he's called the nemesis, Putin's nemesis, the opposition leader. Do you know? Well, I can tell you that when he ran for mayorship in Moscow, I think he's got like 12%. And I think around the whole picture of the Russian Federation, I don't think he's got more than 2%, and I'm being generous. So that is the opposition leader. Now, if you think that Putin doesn't let them, well, think about, for instance, the United States of America. We have 2 parties, and the rest are nothing. You don't call it the other guys the opposition with 1% or 2%. Why? You don't even hear about them. The media and the owners of that country will not allow that to happen. Why? You don't have to familiarize yourself with their names. Now, why is that? I'll poke my eye here. Why was she issued this arrest warrant? The country, Russia, accused Navalnaya of participating in an, quote-unquote, extremist organization. A court said it had approved, and I'm quoting, approved the request of the investigators and decided a preemptive measure in the form of a detention for 2 months. Little information about the charges was shared. That's very important. Navalnaya derided the decision on social media, calling Putin a killer and a war criminal and saying he belongs in prison. Now, in Germany, Russia, let's start with this one. So she engaged, according to these guys, to the Russians, she participates in an extremist organization. No details, little information about the charges was shared. Now, I don't know how did she participate, what is the extremist organization. But if, let's say, I form an organization tomorrow and someone decides in the government that this is an extremist organization and I participate in it, that means I could be arrested, right? Well, like this, you let the government, unchecked, to simply ascribe definitions or terms or whatever extremist organization to whomever. Hey, this is Russia, right? And that happens because Putin is a criminal and a war criminal and a killer and so on, right? Right. But hey, Joe Biden isn't. George W. Bush isn't. Sir Tony Blair isn't. Billion Clinton isn't. But hey, only the Russians and the guys that we don't like. We are made to, they don't like. Why? Because they don't take off their pants, bend over, and take it however these guys want to give it. So, okay, this is Russia. But what if I were telling you that in Germany, free world, right? Free country, democracy, free speech, blah, 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 all those things. Okay? You have a party who's in the government, in the Bundestag, called Alternative for Deutschland. It's in the European Parliament as well, if I remember correctly. It has about, 30% almost of the population, between 27 and 30 and so on. So they're called extremist organization, political party. And by the German law, the German, they called, I call it secret service, secret police, but it's not secret police. It's services to defend democracy, a constitution or something like that. It's a police that is allowed legally to infiltrate the political party, to listen to the phone calls. They don't have to, they can't have guns, obviously. Germany in general cannot have, only the government can have guns. The civilians can have guns, but if they're approved by the guys who labeled whomever, you're not, you're one of ours, you're not, you're blah, 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 and so on. So Alternative for Deutschland is also a extremist organization considered by the German government. So what are you going to do with those guys? Remember, there are a lot of people who were denied entry in certain countries and they were named persona non grata. I know a few. Why? They were called extremists by Great Britain, by Germany, by France, by Poland. I name names. I can name them here because, people need to first, how should I put it? Well, I'm going to give you a few first names. One is Gerard. I'm going to put it Gerard Taylor. I can say that. All right. Oh my God. Go to Wikipedia. He's a bad dude. All right. Only bad dudes. The other one was Ernst Zundel, who was actually arrested and imprisoned for 5 years for saying certain things. Then you got David Irving, the historian, again. And you got more than that, my friends. This is just 3 names for you. Why? They're too dangerous. I'm not going to mention, that bad dude, what's his name, the My Awakening, remember, who wrote the book My Awakening, and so on. Those are bad dudes. Yeah, they can't travel because they were deemed extremist. So therefore, but Russia, if they do the same thing to poor Navalny for trumped up charges, I have no idea. Let's go to the next article. But here she is. Do you remember why Mikhail Gorbachev, now the last Soviet leader, did not really travel to Russia after he helped, whatever he helped? He didn't. He was living in California, right, with Arnold. Russian court orders arrest of Yulia Navalny's widow, the New York Times. The court accused Ms. Navalny, who left Russia in 2021, of participating in an extremist community. She would be subject to arrest if she returns to Russia, the court said. A Russian court, accusing her of participating in an extremist community. Now, put this in this, frame it like this. Think about some organizations in the Middle East and see if those guys would be allowed to do certain things. Come over here. You say, well, that's not the same thing. It's coming back. Yeah, because according to the Russian government, which is corrupt and bad and evil, right? She is destabilizing Russia as a country that the government is supposed to defend and protect. So it's even worse than, let's say, a guy from a group from the Middle East, we can't say, right? He's not from Israel, right? Would try to travel to the United States of America from an extremist organization. But anyway, that's up to you to make up your mind. I'm just reporting here a little bit. The court ordered against Yulia Navalny, who left in 2020 comes 5 months after her husband died under murky circumstances. Why murky? Because you didn't like them? Nobody liked that the guy died so young. But you call them murky because you already start that those guys are evil. Must be. Why? We don't like them. Why? They tell us so. In a harsh Russian penal colony. Why? Why was he in a penal colony? He committed a crime. He committed a crime. What do you want? And then he violated his parole. In any country, civilized country, if you are white, you would get the same thing. Why did I say that? Remember, I worked with criminal history. I worked with this kind of documents. And when I read those documents, I read the name and blah, 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 and I read the criminal history. And I go over the criminal history and I read how many times some people are just slapped over there. They have felonies. They have convictions. They're sent for 2 months in prison and then they're released. And then again and again and again and again. Okay, why? Because what I said about this. That's not a mouse, I talk about the color. He was imprisoned after being convicted of various trumped-up charges when he returned to Russia after a near-fatal attempt to poison him in August 2020. These guys are lying. Let me tell you what happened. He was imprisoned after being convicted of various trumped-up charges. Embezzlement, okay? That's what it was. And then he was given, was released on parole, right? Right, and then what did he do? He left the country. He went to Germany for treatment for alleged poisoning. And then when he came back, he got arrested. That's how the law is in the United States of America as well. But hey, again, Trump, when he returned to Russia after a near-fatal attempt to poison him in August 2020. So New York Times obviously lies by omission and by what they do best. Now, this person, Navalny, has repeatedly accused President Vladimir Putin of Russia of murdering her husband and has vowed to continue his opposition work. It's much more than that. But let's move on. Next article, next topic. Chinese troops begin drills along Poland's border in Belarus. Now, what are they going to do? I know the Poles have balls, but you don't want the Chinese now, do you? This is the result of your boss, which is Al Capone, my Polish friends. Chinese troops, all right. Chinese soldiers are taking part in maneuvers in Belarus, adding another new dynamic to the security situation in Eastern Europe, dominated by Russia's war in Ukraine and the fallout surrounding it. The Russians are, to blame 100%. While Belarus has been a staunch ally of Russia, it has more recently made overtures towards China with the aim of building closer relations with it, including in the military sphere. Belarus was just approved, the country was approved to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What do you want? It's one of the 7 countries over there right now. It's with full membership, was made member. All right, so it says here, the 11-day Eagle assault. That means offensive. 2024, or maybe they're talking about the Bold Eagles assault. Therefore, they are defending an eagle, Bold Eagle of assault, The eagle has landed. You remember that one? All right. So maybe they are defending, they're preparing for an attack from Americans and their jackals. Exercise began yesterday in the Brest-Litovsk region of Belarus, less than 3.1 miles, that's about 5 kilometers, from the border with Poland, a NATO member and staunch ally of Ukraine. Poland is the ally of whomever Al Capone tells them to be an ally. Got that? If tomorrow they say, hey, you gotta hate Ukraine, Poles will do exactly that. Like the Romanians do, like those vassal states. All right, let's move on. Next one. Ukrainska Pravda, the surrounding, the encirclement. Ukrainian soldiers live 70-day encirclement. Live alive? We have a picture with some of them. Soldiers from the 225th Separate Assault Battalion and the 223rd Marine Battalion have broken out of a 70-day encirclement on the Chasiv Yar front. I think we're not told the whole story. They just broke away, and I'm going to show you the pictures of these guys. I'm glad they are okay, but probably they should go to mommy and daddy now and to their wives and children. The guy, the fatty one over there, doesn't really, if you were 70 days encirclement, you don't look like that, do you? To get to that belly in 70 days, that means, can you imagine where he started? Like that. There, one over there is very funny looking. I'm making fun, but, it's tragic. It's tragic because they are used. That's my point. They're not used by the Ukrainian, some of them traitors, but used by other people in charge of them at, you do this and you do this and you're this and that. So let's see details on this one. Soldiers from the 225th Separate Assault Battalion and the 223rd Marine Battalion have broken out of a 70-day encirclement. Okay, so there's 2 battalions, and you got 1, 2, 3 PPP, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people over there. 8 people. Out of how many? How many? What happened to the other ones? Why don't you ask Zelensky? He helps you defend your country and your nation against the Russian hordes, right? No. Here it is. The operation to break a logistical way through the... Let's start over. The operation to break a logistical way through to the soldiers... way through. The soldiers... To the soldiers who were surrounded lasted more than 2 months. While we were trying to clear the way, the fighters held a perimeter defense, repelling the occupiers' attack around the clock. Chassiviar is gone. Is gone. It's already the Russians... is going to fall. The only way to supply them was via drones, which we used to deliver ammunition, food and water. Good, so that one, the fatty is fatty. Good for them. What can I say? Despite being wounded and under constant pressure from the enemy, the soldiers held their position and were withdrawn from rotation as soon as possible. The position is under our control. The way is cleared. Well, all right, here it is, my friends. Remember, if these guys are labeling you as an extremist something, then that's it. You're done. You're done. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to show up and serve time. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.